No.
Councillor Page? No, I didn't want to interrupt your speaking, so I thought I'd wait before I welcome everyone. So the meeting's open. I wish to welcome everyone to the October ordinary meeting. Public forum sessions, pursuant to Council's Code of Meeting Practice Policy, 2 public forum sessions will be held during the council meeting. 1 public forum session will be held following the acknowledgement of the Broken Hill mining history to hear submissions from the public on matters listed for consideration at this meeting, and also hear submissions on general matters. And the other public forum session will be held prior to confidential matters and will consider submissions from the public on matters considered at the meeting only. All councillors undertook an oath or affirmation at the beginning of their term of office and declared to undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Broken Hill local government area and the city of Broken Hill, and that they will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in them under the Local Government Act 93 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgments. The council meeting is being live streamed via YouTube and recorded and published on live and via council's website. To those present in the meeting today, by participating in this public meeting, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. The Mayor and/or General Manager have the authority to pause the live stream if comments or debate are considered defamatory or otherwise inappropriate for publishing. Participants are advised that they may be subject to legal action if they engage in unlawful behaviour. No apologies, everyone's here. There's also no leave of absence. Call on Councillor Boland for the prayer.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Almighty God, we ask you to invoke your blessing upon this council. Direct and prosper our deliberations to the advancement and true welfare of the people of the council area, our state and Australia. Amen.
Amen. Councillor Gallagher.
Yeah, I acknowledge the traditional owners upon the land upon which we meet, the Winnicali people, and pay our respect to those elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. And we have Councillor Jewett, who has special guests here tonight. Councillor Jewett.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. We take the time to reflect, remember and honour the over 800 miners that lost their lives and those that were crippled or maimed on the line of load. We thank the brave miners and their wives who were part of the 1919-1920 strike that lasted over 500 days and delivered a 35-hour working week. Mining is our past and future.
Thank you, Councillor Jewett. Public forum session. The first public forum session will consider submissions from the public regarding matters listed for consideration at this meeting and also on general money matters. The public have been advised through notice in the Barrier Daily Truth on council's website, register by 4 p.m. today if they wish to address council. Members of the public who have registered to address council will be given preference, and then if any time permits, anyone else present at the public gallery may address council. Speakers are allocated 2 minutes to address council. We received 1 registration from Arthur and Jeanette Johnson. If you'd like to go to the microphone. It's about flooding in Will Street between Gibson and Harris. Just over there. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Arthur Johnston. This is my wife Jeanette alongside of me. And what we're here to discuss at the moment, though, was the March flood that came past on the 15th of March, where our house was inundated with water. It came through from both sides of the house, from Wills Lane and Wills Street. That was listed up as a 1 in 100 year event. We've been there now for 24 years, and this is the 5th time it's come up, but this is the first time we've ever got wet. Water, when it was coming across from the West Side Plaza, the water came down Rowe Street and Rowe Lane. That was the main offenders coming into Gypsum Street. The main retention dam there, the one that catches off the West Side Plaza, I was out in the storm when it was happening. That did not run over. That still had at least another 18 inches or more to go. That was still taking everything that was coming off the car park. But the water that was coming in across from underneath the plaza, where the two entrances are to Rowe Street and Rowe Lane, and the water coming down past the Rising Sun Hotel into that main grate over there, the grate was clogged up with branches, leaves and debris. I've been talking to some of the people that live in that area. They say they go down personally and clean the branches and leaves out of it because they know what happens when it blocks up. Well, this is one of the occasions when it did block up and put the water through our house. It went all through underneath the house, probably put 300 mil of water under the house, came in the front and back rooms, down the hallway, and wet the carpets. The carpets have all been destroyed and removed now by the insurance company, but that's all still to be played out, what we're going to get back. When it's been looked at by a real estate agent, they're looking at, say, a land package the way it is now, you're looking at probably $90,000 the way it is. They said the way it was before it was damaged, it was looking at about 190 to 200,000. So from the water going through our house, we've had a write down of $100,000 against us. And I've been off work now. I got a cancer diagnosis 5 years ago. I've only get back to work periodically. And likewise, I can't go back to work for a main income to pack up that money. But that's what we're not asking for money from council. That is not what we're asking for at all. We want our street to be fixed. So if we decided to sell our property, it does not have to be listed in the flood zone. And as to my knowledge, we cannot go outside of our own private area to put any barricades or anything there to deter the water. We stop, our responsibility stops at the gate. Council's responsibility starts past the gate. And this was reported to council 10 years ago when this was happening. An engineer came down and looked at it. He said the centre of Will Street was too high. It needed to be cut down. When you stand in our driveway, it's quite easy. You can look out to the left-hand side, look at the curb, pivot across to the middle of the street. When the water's in the road, there's that much of the road sticking up out the water. It needs to be cut down. All it needs to be cut down in that ends to be cut down and drained. It's not rocket science to be able to do it. And that's what we're here about tonight, to make something happen about it. It was not only our house, it was our house, David Paul's house, and I can't remember the Lady Harvey. The water went through hers as well. There was a couple of dry ones. Then there was more down towards Railway Town School that got wet. But when it's been reported, and it's been going on for nearly 20 odd years, it's been going on for, it's too long. It's about time we had somebody to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. Just in the, so just let you know, you're more than welcome to make an appointment, as I was speaking to you earlier. But this council is serious about rectifying some of those issues that have been occurring for 10, 20 years. It's one of the things that, as the mayor and the general manager, we get many visits from all over the city. The first thing we need to do is, which is coming up, is a flood study and stormwater master plan. So that gives an idea of what needs to be done in those areas that are highly affected, like your area. It's also good to know that you mentioned that the retention basin does help out there, because that was a considerable amount of money and it was meant to alleviate some of the flooding. It's also good that you spoke about the grate and that the grate does block up, and council will ensure that they're kept clean, especially over this wet period. But feel assured that council will take your comments seriously, and it will at least, you might not get the answer you want, but it will be it won't be fobbed off, put it that way.
I just had one other comment too before I go. My wife and I was over there at the grate where the water goes in front of the Rising Sun today. That's got a safety gate on it to stop women and children and animals getting into the drain where it goes underneath it. That's wide open and tied back open. So if anything, like there's a storm tonight, anybody or anything went in there, they'd be held up against the grate on the other side of the plaza. There'd be no way out for them. It needs to be addressed.
Thank you for that as well. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Jeanette?
Well, we took lots of photos this afternoon with a West Beach, the West Side Plaza. And also we've got a lot of it on Thumb Drive with our house, which we've already showed to Scott Al. We didn't get anything from the government at all, $1,000 grant. We were just bugged off because we live in Broken Hill.
I'll pass that one on to the general manager because that's not you're not the first. You're talking about the flood, the so-called flood.
$1,000 each.
flood,
We didn't get any.
yeah.
It
Would you
is
like to
here.
just,
Photocopies, I've printed it off.
yeah, no,
So
some people
everybody
didn't get
can
any, but I'll just pass that on to the general
Tom,
manager.
that's not fair. It's just not.
No,
fair.
it's not. No, not at all.
Okay, I've just got
I'll just get Jay to briefly answer that one because it
Yes.
is important because there was a number of people that applied for it
yes.
and we were listed. But Jay did look into it, or the general manager did look into it.
Yeah, thanks,
Jay?
Mr. Mayor. As the Mayor mentioned, we were advised the same as what the residents were in regards to compensation from the state government or assistance in regards to those stormwater floods, given that Broken Hill was listed. There was actually, we found out later, a list of stringent criteria that people been referred to when they were going through that process with Service New South Wales, which basically made everyone, unless they had extenuating financial circumstances and personal hardship, unavailable to apply for the funds. We've written to the state government on that behalf to say that that's not appropriate in regards to the stormwaters, that other areas have been affected and have received grants for their residents, whereas we've been excluded. So we've written to the state government surrounding that matter, and it has been referred on, but do note your concerns because it did impact a lot of residents in Broken Hill as well.
Yeah. So yes, that was very disappointing from a council perspective and a community perspective, because even though they said, well, in that area, well, you were one of the lucky ones that got 1,000 because some people didn't get any, which is not what they said.
Yes, well, with the hardship, yes, we are having hardship at the moment, my husband and I. My husband cannot work. I'll explain that to you in a minute, what's happening. I cannot work anymore because of what has happened with my nerves are so shot. So I've got a note here. I just would like to read to you so you can understand what Arthur and I have been going through. When we were hit with the 140 mil of rain in March 15, we were shocked to see our home as being flooded. We phoned the SCS a lot of times and no response. When it happened, it was a week later. My husband had to go to Adelaide for cancer treatment, which he has had for the last 5 years. So he had to go for 6 weeks. Everything that happened, I had to do everything on my own. I couldn't go with him this time because every time he has his long treatment, I always stayed out at the Green Hill Cancer Lodge while he gets treated. We had to move out of our home and find somewhere to live. It was a terrible time because we had the big bash on. We couldn't find anywhere to live. Plus having to arrange to remove all our furniture out of our home. We are still renting. It's all been so disturbing and heartbreaking when I couldn't be in Adelaide with my husband, Andy. We are totally appalled. What has happened, it should never have had happened. Now my husband is worse and is due for a major operation in a few weeks' time. Between our home and my husband, I am so disappointed in Broken Hill City Council. Please fix the Will Street Road as I cannot handle much more. So as I showed you, 4 real estate agents. I have thumb drives of pictures of our home and on the streets. Also YouTube, if you want to have a look at that when you go home tonight. It's called Deadly Floods in Broken Hill, March 15th, 2022. It was on Channel 7 Adelaide and our street was on it. That's all I can say. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you to you both. If any other members of the public would like to raise any issues or speak. Peter, nothing to say? Oh, the other Peter's getting up. There you go. You can get up, Peter, if you want.
There has been, Councillor Boland. I congratulate him on saying how they keep an eye on drug laundering people who might be known to do drugs, and they watch them on the poker machines at his establishment. And that impressed me a lot. And I think council also should be have their eyes out for anyone who might be coming now to Broken Hill, trying to launder their drug money with housing here in Broken Hill. I think that should be looked at. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. No other public forum? Move on to the minutes for confirmation. Do we have a councillor who will move the minutes?
I'll move that way.
Move Councillor Gallagher, seconded. Councillor Chandler, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Disclosures of interest, there's none written here. Is there any disclosures of interest from councillors?
Yes, Mayor
Councillor
Kennedy.
Boland?
I've got and hopefully I'll get this word right because I'm tired from travel. Non-pecuniary interest in item 3 of the Health and Building Committee papers due to a business relationship between myself and the applicants, and I will remove myself from the chamber during that
Thank
item.
you, Councillor Boland. Councillor Gallagher?
Yeah, I've got a disclosure, a non-pecuniary interest in item 1, Mayoral Minute /1522 from the request from the Silver City Race Club. On the committee of the Silver City Race Club. I'll be leaving the room while that's being decided.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Any other pecuniary interests? No. Mayoral Minute. Item 1, this is a request. Oh, sorry, Councillor Gallagher, you just said that. I was just trying to rush you. So it's a request for community assistance grant for the Silver City Cups. Silver City Cup. The council approved community assistance grant of 7,000 to the Silver City Cup Race Committee, being in kind from council on the provision of servicing the bins and dumper bins at the cost of 2,128 and cash of 5,000 towards the conduct of the 22 event. The grant be funded from round 2 of the community assistance grant budget that the Silver City Cup Race Committee provides council with all necessary substantiated documents as per the community assistance grants, e.g. current financial statements, evidence of public liability insurance, and following the event of the committee provides a full acquittal. Second, Councillor Hicken? Mayor, sorry, Deputy Mayor Hicken. Look, a lot of events and organisations have struggled over the last couple of years, and they probably wouldn't go ahead if they didn't get some sort of financial help from the community. That is an event that's always been well supported by the community. When councillors make these decisions or we put them forward, everyone should always keep in mind if they believe the community thinks it's a worthy thing to spend it on. And for me, I think that the Silver City Races is always a worthy event for us to support. Do we have any other speakers that would like to make comment?
Can I just make a quick comment?
Yes,
please, Mayor
Councillor
Kennedy?
Boland.
This race meeting, unlike St. Pat's, which has somehow managed to jag the March date in between COVID every year, this event has been postponed or cancelled for 2 years running. And if you cast your mind back to 2019, they had massive issues because the Anna Brandts Bridge in the middle of the drought decided to start collapsing. So they couldn't get marquees and horses and trainers up via the Silver City highway. So the committee has to be congratulated for 3 years of disruptions and cancellations to be able to put the race meeting together. And I think it's a very worthy cause of support.
Thank you, councillor Boland. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Thanks, Simon. I just got defeated, councillor Gallagher. No, I'm only joking. It was carried unanimously. Sorry. Notices a motion nil, rescissions motions nil. On there, it says reports from delegates nil, but we had a delegate just got back from the Local Government New South Wales. We also have councillor Turley, who's the president of Local Government New South Wales. Councillor Hickey, you'd like to give a brief verbal report?
Mayor Kennedy. Firstly, thank you for the opportunity for the General Manager myself to represent the local council at the LG New South Wales. Again, a very worthwhile trip, the 140 plus motions being moved in one day. Motion 21 from Broken Hill that we lobby the New South Wales government to change the current legislation base rate, maximum contribution amount of each individual rating category from 50% to 70%. Motion was lost and the speaker identified it as an obscene motion. Oh, I don't know whether she's speaking about that or myself. So anyway, we didn't get that one. Motion 51, the local government New South Wales calls on the Australian government to legislate that at least 50% of renewable energy is generated in capital cities of Australia. It was seconded by the LGA president, Linda Scott, who spoke strongly in support of our motion, which was passed quite convincingly. So that was a great win for Broken Hill and for Australia, really, that the capital cities have got to contribute 50% of the green energy, so which is great.
Sorry, it was actually seconded by Inner City. So one of the biggest metro councils actually seconded it.
Right, sorry. Councillor Turley today, not Madam Turley. Which is a great win for regional council. Where am I? Cara moved a motion to get rid of the current New South Wales LG policy to ban real estate agents and families and close associates from standing for council. That was defeated. I spoke on that, but it was defeated 60-40. Following discussion with the Mayor of Cowra, we have spoken to both the current Minister for Local Government and the Shadow Minister, and we'll keep in touch with them and all those concerned that if it comes up at Parliament, then we'll get the regional councils to all put submissions in and try and get that defeated. It's a fairly silly motion, but they got away with it. At the end of it, we had a panel of ministers and shadow ministers was held for very good questions and answers given, including Minister Sam Faraway announcing a 50 million grant for potholes to be divided amongst all councils in accordance with their road sizes. So we all get an equal share according to our size of our roads. All in all, I think it was an excellent conference. Congratulations to Councillor Turley, who was the president of the LGA. It was very, very successful. Thank you.
Councillor Turley, would you like to speak?
Just one thing, and my apologies that I've got a mask on, but husband's got COVID again. Just one thing is that the rates motion, I just wanted to say that one thing we were encouraging constantly through the conference is the IPART rate review, and that motion should actually go up to the IPART rate review. And I'm sure that the GM is putting a submission in. And I think that for this council, it'll be really important to stipulate the impacts that we have, especially in rural regional areas.
Thank you, Councillor Turley. Yes, just to make any other comments? Just briefly. So council pushed for a 70% base rate, which means that it would have flattened it would be no extra income to the Broken Hill Council, but it would have flattened the rates across the city. It would have slightly increased rates in the lower part from about 900 average up to about 950 and reduced reduce some of those areas that were paying 4,000 plus in rates down to about $1,900. So I don't know what's obscene about that, but I would suggest that the councillor that said that had no idea what they were talking about. It also is good to hear that some of these so-called till independents that have been elected. It's no longer about us out here in Broken Hill doing all the heavy lifting, where we are one of the world leaders in renewable energy. And when hydro store comes off, one of the biggest off-grid areas in the world. It will be interesting to see if they're still so keen to push all this when they've got windmills on Bondi Beach, because I'm sure suddenly it won't be Chris Bowen's already said that it'll be 30 Ks out to sea. I don't see why we'd be putting transmission lines 30 K with transmission losses and extra environmental damage when we can have them on the beaches of Bondi, Coogee, and so on. And the other one you spoke about was real estate. So look, there may be a degree of corruption in Sydney where developers are ripping off anyone that can do, and real estate agents, but it's out here in the bush. We certainly don't need people that are precluded from representing the community. A lot of the other regional councils have spoken about this, and people, just because they're a real estate agent doesn't mean they're a crook, does it, Councillor Hickey? And not only is it real estate agents, but it's actually anyone that works in the real estate business. So you could have a family member that is working in real estate, and all of a sudden you're precluded from that. So congratulations to both Councillor Hickey, the General Manager, and Councillor Turley on what I believe was a good conference. Do we need a mover for that, or it's just a verbal? Probably need a mover in a second. Yeah, you move that, Councillor Hickey.
Yeah, move that one.
Seconder, Councillor Turley. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We now go on to Works Committee. Item 1 is the adoption of the draft asbestos policy. Do we have a mover for?
Move the recommendations as written, Mr. Mayor.
Moved Councillor Allgate, seconded Councillor Page. Councillor Allgate, you would like to speak to that?
I think it's all written in the attachments, but it's been out to public display. There's been no comment. It's just to ensure that the handling of asbestos is done in the right manner and within the meaning of the policy and meets the legislation requirement.
No worries. Any speakers against? Any further speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. There's only one item on. So now we move to Health and Building Committee. Item 1 is correspondence, lead prevention programs and blood lead level testing in Broken Hill. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Brown? Councillor Brown, seconded. Councillor Page, would you like to speak to that, Councillor Brown?
No, I don't think so, Mr. Mayor. I think this is it's very clear from the correspondence, and council's position is very clear. So let's see how we go.
Yep, for sure. Councillor Page, any further councillors? Just for the gallery and the community, Broken Hill is in reality being treated differently to the rest of the state when it comes to lead levels. What's accepted here is not accepted in many of the areas in the rest of the state, and some of those areas go into panic when they get anything like what we get. Councillor Brown, as has mentioned before and has pushed it for a long time, we're heading towards 2 micrograms per decilitre from 5. That would put a lot of kids in Broken Hill above the safe standard. We also still have children at above the 10 decilitres per 10 micrograms per decilitre. So it is an important thing, and it's something that both the state and the federal government need to acknowledge. With the amount of royalties that come out of Broken Hill, they need to make sure that we continue to be subsidised for water to make sure that we can vegetate the city. And Councillor Brown?
Yes, the point was made in
one of the letters from the EPA, but no, it's actually in the minister's letter that currently the EPA funds everything and health doesn't, and EPA are very busily. I mean, that's where the effort's going. They're trying to get other sponsors for the program. So maybe it's worth also sending correspondence to the health minister and the shadow minister as well, because it's health that's going to have to cop up basically to at least 50% of the funding, I would say. You know, that's probably what they would aim for, because with the previous, the first 5 years, health did contribute, health and EPA contributed equally with that, and they not currently, and that's the, you know, the real point of contention. So I think it would be worth approaching both the, Minister Hazzard is retiring, and I can't recall who the shadow health minister is. But anyway, that's easy enough to
You'd
find.
like to add that to it, Councillor Brown? Accept that, Councillor Page? Yep. Yes, very good point. And the EPA made it clear when they met with us that, you know, they can't guarantee how long they're going to have the money to do it. So it's very important that we do. All those in favour? Carries unanimously. Thank you. Move on to item 2, Green Space Credon Street. Do we have a mover?
Move the recommendation as
Councillor
written.
Page got in before you, Councillor Boland. Seconded, Councillor Boland. Councillor Page, would you like to speak to it? Councillor Boland?
Just reading through the recommendations report, this is going to be a very important space for the community out there. And it'll make the livability, it'll help assist in closing the gap and community proud. And there's so many opportunities for the traditional owners to grow businesses out there, show visitors to the region their history and their culture. So I think all round this is going to be a great project. And talking to community members that live out in Credon Street that frequent the club, and I see down the street, they're all very, very excited for it and looking forward to the project being completed.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Councillor Page?
Just to comment, Mr. Mayor, that there's lots of opportunities out there. Once we get it up and running, I'm quite sure you could have a area out there where they can grow a lot of fruit and veg and a lot of the native foods. So it's a good opportunity. It's a starting point now, and I think it'll progress with lots of good outcomes.
Thank you, Councillor Page. Any other councillors? Councillor Brown?
Just a question. I mean, the motion is asking for council to advocate for, you know, both of these sort of similar projects. I'm just not clear how that advocacy is going to take place. Is it going to be on council's list of you know, major issues, or are there specific plans to approach specific departments?
I think it'd be to approach. One of the important things about this is, as much as anything, it's to get children off the street out the front, so they've got a safe place to kick the football. One of the things Councillor Page just mentioned is talking about sheds where you can learn to weld, potential for shearing, growing native food. This would be maintained and operated by an Aboriginal group. So first thing to do is council's facilitating to make sure that Aboriginal groups are completely behind this, because what you want to, anything that council does, one of the things that was brought up is having dual names. Now, I think that's not supported widely in the community. What is supported widely in community is the fact that if we get this up and running, it'll be a benefit to Broken Hill as a whole, not just Aboriginal community, but the whole of Broken Hill. And that's what it is. We've spoken with the police. The police think it's a fantastic idea. Many other groups. So I suppose to answer your question, Councillor Brown, it's to make sure that council's getting all the groups in the one area to get support behind it. And then as a council, we'll start to push to try and get funding and whatever. Councillor Hickey.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Kennedy. We met out there with a group of the residents some weeks back, and they're all very excited about having something out. They all had different ideas of what they'd like, of, you know, like sheds and things like that, and start off the playground, start off with all that, and safe place for kids, plenty of lighting and plenty of keeping off the street, and the whole community out there was quite excited. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Hickey. Councillor Gallagher.
Just one thing, Mayor Kennedy, there's plenty of agencies that can assist. Local Lands Council, the Juvenile Justice, Corrections, Community Corrections, PCYC, the ACLOs of the jail, the ACLOs of the police. There's plenty of people that will assist in that project. It's not just, it's a great for the community. It's a great, and also it's a good strategy for reducing crime in that area.
It is.
And I think that's all, they'll own that area, they'll live that area, and they'll look after that area.
Thank you, councillor Gallagher. Well said. Any other comments? All those in favour? Carried councillor Turley, you for that? Yeah, carried unanimously. Item 3, proposed hotel. Oh, sorry, councillor Boland.
I'll move the recommendation.
It's just for the gallery and those at home, the proposed hotel development at 207 to 213 Argent Street. Councillor Allgate.
Move the recommendation.
I'll second that one.
Second, councillor Gallagher. Councillor Allgate, you'd like to speak to that?
Oh, only to say that any development of this type is welcomed. As far as I'm concerned, we're always short of beds on the days where we have large events. We've seen that with and just recently with the Bush Bash. You know, accommodation was booked out months and months before, and there were no vacancies and all the rest of it. So whatever we can do to encourage the development of additional hotel beds, well, I think we should be for it. I mean, it's in an unusual place. I acknowledge that, but there are, I think there's 8 pages of conditions, and once all the conditions are, well, obviously the conditions have to be met for it to go ahead. And at the end of the day, I think it'll be a good improvement to the town as such.
Thank you, councillor Allgate. Councillor Gallagher.
Just quickly, Mayor Kennedy, I totally agree with all the comments of Councillor Allgate in relation to that area. Just looking at the project and looking at the landscape and the streetscape of that project, it's magnificent. It'll bring the icon of Argent Street and the Palace Hotel and the other areas up into the spotlights and also the lights of our area. It goes from different types of accommodation, from itinerant to short and long term. I think it's what the street needs. It's what the town needs. We're trying to promote the town. We're trying to bring people in, and it can only add to the value of Broken Hill and make it a great destination for visitors and the like.
For sure. Councillor Hickey, you want?
I'd concur with what Councillor Gallagher just said. The whole streetscape now of the new design at the front is absolutely excellent and fits in with our street and our heritage look. I think it's great, and they've increased it to a 52 bed, which is also fantastic, because it's a great another outlet for accommodation.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Councillor Brown?
Yes, just a question which I didn't ask at the committee meeting and probably should have, just relating to the number of car spaces at the back, and I know that was answered in the application, but I'm just wondering how the owners will stop people with cars from booking in. They weren't clear on that. They said that it's targeted for a particular group of travellers, who would arrive without transport, so that's why the 19 internal car spaces will be sufficient. But I'm just wondering how they're going to ensure that is what happens, because people do hire cars too. They might come by air, but they also hire cars. And if that happens, if they're all going to park in Argent Street, which they logically would, I don't think there's much space in Crystal Lane to park it down the track. Maybe there could be a bit of a parking problem there, but it's just, I don't know if there's an answer to that, but I couldn't see anywhere where they explain how they're going to make, I can't see that they're going to restrict bookings to people with cars or, but how they're going to ensure that is not going to be a problem down the track.
Thank you, Councillor Brown.
Apart from that, I think it's great.
Yep. Would you like to respond?
Yep. Thank you, Matt Kennedy. There won't be any restrictions on that basis. It was detailed within the report. And when we discussed the last committee meeting, it will basically be on the application as it is. So there is 19 car parking spaces made available in the application. And obviously with the target market, it's been put in place that it's going to be mostly by air or bus or rail. But the compromise that council will be making, which has been listed throughout the throughout the report, is that if there is more car parking, there isn't anything there to stop to prohibit that from occurring. So for council to put this activation through to redevelop Argent Street to have this new enterprise that basically will be a parking compromise in regards to the required number of car parks that you would normally have for such a development. That's the offset at the moment for having this motel in Argent Street. Thanks, Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, General Manager. No further speakers? I'll just briefly say that really good report, and I recommend that any member of the public take the time to have a look at it. As Councillor Gallagher said, it gives you a real idea of what the streetscape will look like. The report also outlines a lot of the potential impacts that it could have and how they've been mitigated by different consent orders, conditions, sorry. So all in all, I think it's a great development for the city. I acknowledge what Councillor Brown said. Sometimes you've got to put up with what might be an inconvenience to get the city progressing and continue the confidence that's building in the community as far as developments go. People are positive about the city, and they're showing this by investing their money. So all those in favour? Councillor, yeah. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Still have to call a division, even though we said it. So in favour, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Turley, Councillor Brown, Councillor Allgate, Councillor Jewett, Councillor Chandler, Deputy Hickey, and myself in favour. It was passed, Councillor Boland. Item 4 is a report for the potential alligator weed in the Menindee Lake system. Do we have a mover for that? Move Councillor Page, seconded Councillor Turley. Councillor Page, would you like to speak to that? Being a Menindee resident, part-time Menindee resident and Broken Hill full-time.
Well said, Mr. Mayor. I've got a message too from a bloke living up there. The other day I was talking to him about the state of the Menindee Road needs slashing. His name was Lombardo. He said he's a mate of yours.
Yes,
Tell the mayor, could he talk to someone about getting the road slashed? So, Mr. Mayor, can you take that on board as well?
Well, we can take that on board, and we actually have a joint meeting coming up. So that's where the Wentworth, Balranald, Central Darling and Broken Hill meet, and we as a council help Central Darling as much as we can. Of course, we have to look after our own area, but it is important, the Menindee particularly to Broken Hill and Wilcannia. As it goes a little bit further to Ivanhoe, we don't have as much influence, but we can bring it up at our meeting coming up on the 30th.
Yeah, that's what he's asking for. He's saying that up there at Central Darling, they've already slashed the road on 2 occasions, and the other end, the unincorporated area, hasn't been done. So I can tell him now that I've passed the message on.
Well, if you'd like, just on behalf of them, if you'd like to add or foreshadow a motion that will write off to the appropriate minister to bring it up after this is dealt with.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Any other speakers? Just briefly on the alligator weed, it hasn't been confirmed, but it was brought up. If alligator weed does get in the Menindee Lake system, the only way you actually destroy that alligator weed is to dry the system out. So we certainly do not want the New South Wales government or the federal government using an excuse to drain our lakes. So we need to get onto this and make sure that it's dealt with before, if it is a problem, if it's a minor problem, before it becomes a major problem. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. I'll move item 5 and then we'll have an item 6, which is the one you just brought up, councillor Page. So item 5 is minutes of the Friends of the Flora and Fauna of the Barrier Ranges Community Committee. You'd like to move that, councillor Brown? Seconded, councillor Jewett. Councillor Brown? Just a brief one. About half your committee was at the volunteers meeting. It was a really, would you like to speak about that? It was a really good, it was, well, Councillor Brown is the chairman of the volunteers group. It was really good. I reckon there was probably about 130 or 40 people there. Council start more than that, you reckon? 200?
Not quite 200. I think they had about 170 by
right.
the end of the,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's pretty, it looked really good when you walk in. There was a number of tables that were full. Councillor staff were volunteering their time, serving coffee, food, plenty of other stuff. It was a really nice event. Most of the tables I spoke to, they're all going to nominate next time, and they're going to put in a lot of detail into their nomination. What I noticed with a lot of the nominations is they're quite brief, and I know a lot of these people do a lot more than what they put in their nomination form. So I suppose the reason I'm speaking about it here, if there is anyone watching at home and believes a volunteer needs to be recognised, please nominate them. I'm sure Councillor Brown would be more than happy to get a lot more nominations and finalists for final approval. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillor Page, you'd like to move your motion to write off to the Minister about the unincorporated area and roads needing slashing?
Yes, Mr Mayor, and if we can send a copy to the state member, the current state member here.
Yeah.
But I can't understand how the state member hasn't dealt with this issue. Apparently, a lot of people have approached him.
Right.
And they're saying it's falling on deaf ears, so we need to give him a copy as well.
So you got that, please? Yeah. Seconder for that? Councillor Gallagher, you'd like to, any other speakers for it? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We move on to policy in general. Item 1 is mobile communications upgrade required for the Broken Hill Racecourse and Regional Event Centre. We have a mover for that. Councillor Page, seconded Councillor Allgate. Councillor Page, you'd like to speak to it?
Yes, Mr Mayor, this is another issue that's brought up on a regular basis, and I think we should thank you. I know you have followed it up. You have pushed it, and now you've made it happen. So I think on behalf of everyone that's been pushing, Mr Mayor, thank you for making it happen.
Thank you, Councillor Page. Councillor Allgate, you'd like to speak to it?
Only to say that it's a ridiculous situation that the community has found itself in. Not only do we get poor mobile reception and internet and whatever down the north, there's basically no reception at the event centre, and the racecourse in general.
Golf course.
In 2022, you would expect better. Apparently, we're going to get better, and the current construction of the tower at 23 Cummins Street is apparently going to help. I was always blindly thought that the tower that went down at the aquatic centre would help the north area, but it didn't do anything. In fact, it reduced some of the coverage as far as I'm concerned. But things are looking good now, so at least the people that need to know what's going on, they're doing something about it. And let's hope that when these events start, let's hope that we can get some help and funding for the mobile cell in the meantime.
Councillor Hickey?
I'd possibly describe that as obscene, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Any other speakers?
Just a quick
Councillor
comment.
Boland?
This can't come soon enough. Monday evening, there was another Telstra outage that dropped FPOS and ATM machines out across the CBD. Broken Hill's population's increasing. We've got lots of tourists around and you can't access money. It's 2022. It's a booming regional centre. And the fact we've had to fight so hard to get this kind of support from the government is quite frankly ridiculous. Hopefully the base tower at 23 Cummins Street will fix the issues. Mum only lives down the road, so I'll be able to tell you firsthand if it fixes any of them. But this has been an ongoing issue for the last 12 months at least. ATM machines off and FPOS machines costing business money, and obviously out at the race course and the golf course. It's just unacceptable for such a big city in 2022.
For sure, councillor Boland. The other thing that, and we are pushing it strongly, and it is an issue, is that we need to make sure we get the temporary tower, because we're looking at quite a while before we get a permanent tower. So it's important that as a council, we continue to push for the cell on wheels, which will also be able to be used potentially at Monday Bash and other areas where, as long as they're in sight, if you can get any sort of signal there, the booster then can pick it up and use it. So it won't be just for out at the racecourse. We can use it for other events. All those in favour? Carry unanimously. Thank you. Item 2 is the investment report. Do we have a mover for that?
I'll move that
Councillor
way.
Boland, seconded. Second that, councillor Hickey, Deputy Mayor. You'd like to speak there, councillor Boland?
It's all written on the page, really. That's, you know, the current issues we're facing. Inflation's up further again. Today, there's another 25 basis point rate increase expected, which will be expected Melbourne Cup Day, actually. So, yeah, I mean, it's ticking along how it should in the current environment.
Thank you, councillor Boland. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 3, nominations for appointment to community representatives to Section 355 committees. Do we have a mover?
Move that way.
Moved, councillor Hickey, seconded, councillor Gallagher. Councillor Hickey,
I'll move it as read.
you'd like to speak to it?
No need.
It is good to see people slowly coming on board for these committees. I think that's your committee, isn't it? Councillor Gallagher,
Certainly is.
is it working well?
Yeah, well, we had a bit of a hiccup with one meeting, but I spoke to everyone. The next one we actually everyone will be there, so it's good. Yep.
Excellent.
Going well.
All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 4 is Section 355 annual financial reports. We have a mover for that.
Move the recommendations.
Move, councillor Allgate, seconded. Councillor Jewett got in before you. Councillor Allgate.
Nothing much that I could add to it, except that it's a complex document, not easy to understand. But given the financial situation worldwide, or the economic situation worldwide, you know, I feel terribly sorry for people like the Chief Financial Officer and the staff who are involved in Treasury. I think generally the council's come out pretty good under the circumstances. When you look at September,
Councillor Allgate, item 4, just the annual financial for the
reports.
355 committees.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking about
Then
the
one
one
after.
before.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll move all of the recommendations on 4
yeah.
for the
We have the seconder. We have already had the seconder, councillor Jewett. Would you like to speak to that report, councillor Allgate?
only to say that in recognising that volunteers are always needed, and it's good to see that we have all of the committees at least operating and providing their annual report in accordance with the council's requirements. But we can always, I know from the 2 committees that I've been to recently, 4 people at each one. You really need more. You need a better input from the community, but at least we are operating.
For sure, councillor Allgate. Councillor Paterly?
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to comment about the amount of work we expect from our volunteers, the fact that they have to put an annual report in and the financial report. These are volunteers that consider themselves, they want to contribute, they want to participate. They don't realise they have to be company secretaries and do the work that I think that could be considered elsewhere. I think it's a lot of work to ask our volunteers to do on a regular. It's not just the minutes, it's also those annual reports and financial reports. And I think there should be a simpler system that we could do for that.
Councillor Brown?
Yes, well, the Arboretum Committee is mentioned as not having submitted, that
Yeah.
report was submitted. I did check
Yeah,
again
yeah,
today. It
yeah.
was sent months ago, but it must have gone to the wrong spot. So I'll speak to Lisa after this and just make sure that I send it to the right place. So it has been done. It was done a long time ago when it was asked for. So
No worries. Thank you, Councillor Brown. You're happy to follow that up? Yep. Yes, so just following on from Councillor Turley's comments, this has been done for this year. So if we, over the next 3-4 months, we'll bring it back and have a look at what we can do to ease up something, if you just take note of that. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 5 is the Broken Hill Heritage Committee meeting.
Move that way.
Move Councillor Turley, seconded Councillor Brown. Councillor Turley, you'd like to speak to that?
Yeah, just to congratulate the committee and Christine Adams, the secretary for the Miners Memorial on the 8th of October. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there, but I knew it was in good hands and I heard it was quite successful.
It was, would you like to speak to that, Councillor Brown, just as seconder?
No, except to really to agree with that the comment that it was very successful. And actually, I think in lots of ways the Trades Hall is a better location, except for the acoustics. It's a terrible place for speakers there. It is just, it's really awful. I don't know what can be done about that. But for other reasons, I mean, it's much less windy for a start, and it's better for the musical items. But if they could just do something about the acoustics, it would be perfect.
Yes, I must admit it was a really good day. It started off, we thought the numbers were going to be low, and then we had to unstack about 70 odd chairs. So on top of the 70 or more that was there. So it ended up a really nice day, and there was a really nice poem song that was sung about flying the flag to signify red and black for death. People wouldn't, the whistle would go off and people wouldn't know who had died. So it is a really touching, moving event, and it was well organised and held. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We move on to further reports. Item 1, public presentation of the financial statements. Councillor Allgate.
I hope I've got the right one this time.
You have this time.
I've moved the recommendations, item 1 and item 2, and I think I've said what I was going to say pretty much. I believe that under difficult circumstances, the council's 21-22 annual financial report is a good one. It's not perfect, but I don't think there are too many perfect ones around for this period. And the thing is, it's not an easy report to read. All of the financial reports take some considerable time to understand, and I certainly don't understand it all. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is that we're doing quite well under the circumstances. And I think, as I said before, I think that the Treasury section of the council need to be patted on the back for a job well done under difficult circumstances.
Thank you, Councillor Allgate. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 2 is the local traffic committee meeting. Councillor Brown, seconded. Councillor Turley, Councillor Brown, like to speak to that?
It's not a great, it is fairly self-explanatory. We're dealing with a lot of these annoying issues that have come up. Recently, I think at the meeting before last, the decision was made to put traffic counters. So a lot of those areas where people complain that, you know, cars are travelling too fast, whether it's around schools or we've done it around the hospital previously. You know, if you have those traffic counters working, they give you a whole lot of information, you know, about the maximum speed and when people are speeding and so on. So I think that's probably the next important report from the traffic committee. It'll give us that information. I don't know whether those traffic counters have arrived yet. I think when I checked in the action list, they were still waiting to come. So I suppose it'll be a while before we get that report done.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Any
Can I ask
Councillor Allgate?
Asked a question, Mayor Kennedy. This past week, late last week, I was asked a question again about children crossing Gypsum Street from Burkwood School. I mean, I brought this up once before and it's been looked at by the traffic committee on a couple of occasions, I think. On the last occasion I brought it up, I understand from the same people who brought it up with me that the gate that opens out onto Gypsum Street near the corner, the school closed that gate, locked it, and that corrected the problem temporarily. But the gate has then since been opened, and the kids flock out there at odd times, and apparently people coming around the corner and coming down Brackow Street, it still remains a problem. That's my understanding of the person that brought it up with me.
Yeah, so I think there is a bit of an update. There was a person in town that actually looks at, or Councillor Brown.
Yes, Janine House, I think. She's been to the last few traffic committee meetings. She's with Transport for New South Wales from Parks. And her specific job, and she's, you know, really very conscientious about speaking to all the schools when they have issues. I know there's been that long-standing issue at Morgan Street or Union Street with that parking there, and so I'm not quite sure that's been about 12 or 18 months, I think, since we started doing something with that. But the Burke Ward one, I know she's had conversations. I think she's coming out fairly soon. So I think you know, whatever the response is, because it's fairly complicated. It's complicated with the problem with the tree at the crossing and all of those things. So we just have to wait till she gives her report about that, because that, you know, it has to go past. It has to be approved by that particular Department of Transport for New South Wales when it involves school students there.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. So that's one that's the update, Councillor Allgate, is that
Well, just
Transport New South Wales is actually looking to address it.
It's been 2 or 3 years now in the making.
Yeah, at least we're getting somewhere, slowly but surely. Any other speakers? Councillor Gallagher?
Perfect solution, as I mentioned before, bring back the lollipop person.
Yes, I do agree, and that is the potential. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3 is the action list. Councillor Gallagher?
I'll move that way.
Seconder? Councillor Boland, Councillor Gallagher, anything to say?
As usual, it's good to see a fair bit of green, a little bit of amber there, but the ladies in the office are looking after it quite well, but we're going well.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Questions taken on notice from the last meeting. Do we have a mover for those? Seconder? Councillor Hickey, any comment? Any debate?
No.
Councillor Allgate? Any other councillors? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Questions for the next meeting arising from items on it. Is there any other questions for the next meeting? Councillor Brown?
Yes, I just wondered, following the federal budget, whether any of council's grant submissions or projects are going to be affected by the changes to the Building Better Communities and some of those big funding grants. Is there any impact on that? I mean, on existing projects, particularly, the library and archives, which were funded partly through that?
You'd have to think there might be some positive, General Manager.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. For what's coming out of the federal budget, we're still just working through that to answer that question. Obviously, some of the positives out of it. We'll have to review the Building Better Regions funds for our current submissions. However, the particular submission with the Library and Archive won't be impacted. That funding's already been guaranteed and the deed's been signed. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, General Manager. Any other questions? No other questions?
Just
Yep,
quickly.
Councillor Gallagher.
Kenny, we bring it up all the time, and I mentioned that problem with the traffic committee with the Gibson Street Burke Ward. Can we write to the Burke Ward School and or do something about it to inquire whether they can employ a safety officer to assist the kids walking across the road? That might assist, but and it might be just something.
Can we have a mover to, we can do it tonight. Do you want to move it just to bring it as a urgent motion? Councillor Gallagher, moved that way.
Yes, Mayor Kennedy.
Seconded, Councillor Page. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillor Gallagher, you want to move your motion now?
Yes, I just moved the motion that we, as I said, we write to the school to find out whether the
Potential for lollipop.
potential lollipop or safety officer. Look, it's being brought up all the time. We've got to move it. Councillor Orgate gets spoken to quite regularly about this issue. We don't want any children to be hurt unnecessarily. It used to work well before. This one seems to be the only problem is at Gibson Street. Let's just see what we can do, Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Public forum session. Do we have anyone from the public that'd like to speak? Yep, Peter.
I'm Peter Bullock, 185 Micah Street. Tom, in the federal parliament, I heard the other night that there's some big project that I was telling Rolly that is also going to come to, excuse me, going to come to Broken Hill. Could you fill us in on what's happening?
You're talking about the Hydra store?
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. So Hydra store is a compressed air energy storage system. So instead of using batteries, you use our mine shafts, which were 500 metres deep. It uses water to compress air to heat to drive a generator, so they can store up to about 8 hours worth of energy. So they can sell that energy. So the wind and the solar is used during the day. They buy it at a cheap price and then sell it back to the grid at a more expensive. And they got about $44 million. So that's a real win for the Broken Hill community, not just because it'll have jobs, but they actually have pledged to work with Broken Hill City Council to store energy produced from Broken Hill if we do, and when we get a mini solar array, which will then make cheap power for Broken Hill Council, will free up extra money for the community, but at the same time also there'll be additional energy that can be used for community groups. So it's a real win for the council, the city and the community.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, because I knew it must have been important because it got a mention in the federal parliament.
They went on to say in their press release, and I think I'll pass this to Councillor, Deputy Mayor Hickey, who was very impressed with, we've been named one of the leaders in the world. If you'd just like to say, Councillor, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, with that, it gives us focus that I think they said that one of the largest mini grids in the world once we have the Hydra store with our green energy and power. That which I mentioned at the New South Wales LG conference the other day, which it's a huge thing, to be that, and for our region, it's a great effort, and it makes everybody have to lift up their belts and do a little bit towards it, because we're carrying the whole weight. I look at that.
Yes, and every time, excuse me, and every time I seem to switch on the TV, something else is happening in Broken Hill. This was just the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank
Tom.
you. Just from that, you know, not directly, Peter, but sit down, that's fine. That what was mentioned in the federal budget is over the next 18 months, electricity prices are set to rise by 56%, petrol by 44%. So it probably comes in at a good time that we are doing this to reduce our own costs, but there's going to be many businesses in Broken Hill that are going to struggle over the next 18 months with the 56% electricity rise. So hopefully we get ours done as soon as possible. And I think if we could, would move another motion of urgency about the $1.9 million for renewables, and we need to get in early and move a motion. If someone would like to move it right off about our mini grid and get now, what are we, 1.15 meg solar, 5 meg solar. So if someone would like to move that, we write to Chris Bowen, I assume is the right minister, and let's see what we can do. Move
Certainly move that
Councillor
way.
Higgy, seconded Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Allgate, you'd like to?
No, I was just going to second.
No, that's right. Any comment?
I'll make a quick comment, Mayor
Yes,
Kennedy.
Councillor Boland.
I mean, I think it's a matter of urgency that we ride off. Broken Hill is quickly becoming the clean energy centre of Australia, if not the world. The hydro store, there's plenty of technology out here, and we know that renewables have a shortcoming. When the sun's not shining, the wind's not blowing, so the saying goes. You need somewhere to store the energy when the wind is blowing and the sun is shining. So it's important to keep promoting Broken Hill as the renewable capital of Australia and the world, and get our own mini solar array that we can store energy with the hydro store. Anywhere I go across Australia and the world, I promote Broken Hill as the clean energy capital of the world. And there's lots of people out there that are very, very interested in what we're doing in Broken Hill. For the last couple of weeks, I've probably been in the clean energy centre of the universe, or so they think, in California. And there's been plenty of people very interested in what we're doing in Broken Hill. And I spent many hours explaining to them what we're doing out here, and they're very excited that the technology will trickle down to all countries in the world. So I think Broken Hill should be proud of what we're doing, and the sooner we can tap into some of that funding from the federal budget last night, the better.
Sure. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We now move to confidential. Could we have a mover that we go to closed session? Move Councillor Page, seconded Councillor Brown. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. All right. Just hand over to the General Manager to read out the resolutions that were passed in closed session.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Broken Hill City Council report number 22, lease to IOR Aviation Proprietary Limited at Broken Hill Airport, part lot 1, DP 124942. Resolved 1, that Broken Hill City Council report number 22 dated October 20, 2022 be received. 2, that council authorise the general manager to negotiate final lease arrangements with IOR Aviation Proprietary Limited for part lot 1 in DP 124942 as detailed within the report. 3, that council consent to the Uniting Church Australia Property Trust New South Wales to sublease a portion of the lease in part lot 1 DP 124942 to IOR Aviation Proprietary Limited for the terms set out in the below report. 4, that council authorise the mayor and general manager to sign and execute all documents in relation to this matter under council's common seal. Confidential item number 2, Broken Hill City Council report number 234/22, T2213, request for tender blend Galena and Will Street roundabout road reconstruction. Resolved 1, that Broken Hill City Council report number 234/22 dated October 11, 2022 be received. that GTE Proprietary Limited be awarded the contract for tender 22/13, request for tender for Blend, Gleaner and Will Street roundabout road reconstruction for the amount of $591,970.34, excluding GST. 3, that council approve an increase in capital budget for the project of $223,395.34 to meet the rise in building escalation costs. Item 3, Broken Hill City Council Report number 232/22. Variation of lease of part lot 789 in DP 793558 at the Tourist and Traveller Centre, 23 to 27 Bromwood Street, Broken Hill, to 777 Enterprises Proprietary Limited, trading as Gloria Jean's Coffee. Resolved, 1, that Broken Hill City Council Report number 232/22 dated October 5, 2022 be received. 2, that council endorses a variation of lease to 777 Enterprises Proprietary Limited, trading as Gloria Jean's Coffee, to vary the original 10-year lease executed in March 2012 for use of part lot 789 in DP 793558 at the Tourist and Traveller Centre, 23 to 27 Bromwood Street, Broken Hill, to extend the original lease by 5 years to now expire on 11th of March 2027, with all terms and conditions to be as per the original lease and as varied by the variation of lease as attached to the report. 3, that the mayor and or general manager be authorised to execute the variation of lease documents under the common seal of council. Thanks, Mayor Kennedy.